Commission meeting. It is Thursday, April 10th. Commissioners in attendance: Jeremiah as member, George Bacon as member, Jess Gugino, member clerk, Mark Phillips as vice chair, Heather Hampson, our conservation agent, and myself, John Schmallenberger, as chair. Confirmation of agenda?
There is no changes.
All righty. Motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes for March 27th, 2025. Anyone have any comments or changes?
You're all right.
Okay, and hearing none, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for March 27th, 2025 as written?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. This is the time of our meeting for public input. If there is anyone out there who is not on the agenda that has a comment or question for the commission.
But if you'd rather.
You have public input?
Pardon? Yes, I have public input, but if you'd rather, it could wait until the end. It's up to you.
No, let's do it now. Please come and join us. State your name for the records.
Sure. I'm Ruth Maxon Schultz, 17 Taft Street. There.
Nice to see you, Ruth.
Pardon?
It's nice to see you.
Yes, good to see you. Always enjoy meetings. As you know, I have a farm and it's conservation. I mean, is not conservation, but it's very organic, and I like to keep it thinking that it's going to stay that way. I'm going to propose. I wanted to propose on sometime in annual meeting or winter meeting or something, a right to farm bylaw for the town, or we're not a right to farm bylaw. And that's the first question I get from anybody. Well, is Ayer right to farm bylaw? And I have to say no. Right to farm bylaw is just, it doesn't increase the rights of the state laws. It just says we declare that we agree with them and we want to protect farming in the town, basically, is what it does. And there is one thing that the right to farm is hereby recognized exists within the town of Ayer. The above described agricultural activities may occur on holidays, weekdays, and weekends by night or day, and include the incidental noise, odors, and dust and fumes associated with normal agricultural procedures. That's covered by state law. It is hereby determined that whatever impact may be caused to others, whatever impact it may be caused to others through the normal practices of agriculture is often more offset by the benefits of farming to the neighborhood, community, and society in general. The benefits and protections of this bylaw are intended to apply exclusively to those commercial agricultural and farming activities conducted in accordance with generally accepted agricultural practices. Moreover, nothing in this right to farm bylaw shall be deemed as acquiring any interest in land or imposing any land use regulation which is properly the subject of state statute, regulation, or local zoning law. But the important thing about the bylaw is that it says 21 days after the purchase and sale contract is entered into, they must be giving anyone who's purchased land or property must be told that it is right to farm community. And the whole purpose of the bylaw is to protect the farm and the community from being the neighbor deciding they don't like the smell, they don't like the noise, and start complaining and then file a lawsuit. And this is to prevent anything from happening about that. Ayer is the only town around that surely has a right to farm. Harvard, Groton, Littleton, Pepperell, Townsend, we're the only farm that does not, we're the only town that doesn't have that. And there's still the Top of the Hill Farm, Mr. David Elides has some of the best hay in the state. He really keeps it, does a wonderful job haying. His hay always sells out fastest. And then there was my farm, and I would like to see it protected by the town people rather than try, when I have had a neighbor selling a house, I called and I told, please tell your real estate agent there's a farm. Talk to the real estate agent. I called the number and I said, please tell the people that are interested there's a farm. And then I talked to the people by it. Oh, we didn't know there was a farm there. It's happened. Only one. Only one that's been, house that was sold that the real estate agent told them. People right next door did not know. And so I think that would help. That would help and protect not only my farm, but also the top of the hill farm and farming other. They say there has to be 5 acres. There's no set acreage for you to become a commercial farm. You can, I think 2 acres is one of the minimal for the town that they say. And there are several properties in town that have 2 acres or more that could be used as a farm in the process. And personally, I'm very concerned about the way the land is going, going up into houses after houses. We don't have enough room for growing things. And I'm very concerned about that. And the best way is regenerative farming. And I've been studying that for years. It's the way my grandfather farmed, is that you just use the animals to replenish the land, and it has been going on. The land is so deficient. I have to feed my goats selenium, magnesium, and all kinds of stuff that never had to do that before. It just isn't there anymore. And so that's the reason for it. And I want to let you know that I'd like to see that happen to the town in the future.
So you're just coming to us as just giving us information?
Yes, just giving information.
As a heads up for you, we come to town meeting at some point in time to
Yes,
bring this up.
well, it depends. I think I plan to do that, yeah. Of course, you all know what has happened to me. I assume you do. And I just would like you not to believe all the stuff that was reported. And if any of you have questions, I'd be happy to speak with you about it. But the town is now saying that I'm not a farm. And they're telling me I'm not. And so if that continues, then I don't know. I think I like that cluster housing. I've talked to the zoning, not the zoning, I've talked with the surveyor and about doing cluster zoning on my property and putting like 30 houses or so on it. I think he was saying we could do. Plus, there's no point in me fighting the town anymore than I have for the last 20 years, and it's just enough. So.
Well, appreciate you coming to us for the heads up, and I wish you good luck in your
Thank you. Appreciate
quest.
it. Right.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. First item this evening is a discussion, 42 Park Street, project site changes and remediation. Good evening.
Good evening.
State your name, please, for the records.
So Justin LeClaire, McCarty Engineering, Ali Goldenak.
Ali Goldenak, owner of 42 Park Street.
And
Mike, you want to come up here, please?
And
Goldenak.
So you can let us know.
what happened?
Also, Mike McDuff.
Michael McDuff.
Michael McDuff. Good evening.
So, before, I'll answer this right away before Commission asks. He is the new.
I didn't do it.
He is the new site contractor that was hired as part of what's going to be the ongoing remediation for the site. So he was not responsible for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Okay.
Just want to get that out there.
To put away my rotten tomatoes.
Yeah, I would like to get raw tomatoes. I want one of the cookies.
You want a cookie?
So, if the commission remembers, we were in front of you a while ago for mixed-use building here. As construction was ongoing, Ms. Goldenack went for her temporary certificate of occupancy. As part of that, a progress as-built had to be done and filed with the town. So the surveyor went out, shot everything as is, submitted it to myself and also to the town. I did notice some things on it that I figured would be noticed by both the plan agent and the conservation agent. I said, it is what it is on site right now, submit so that they see that you did have it done, and we'll address concerns on site. So the biggest thing regarding the commission's purview and issue is when you look at the building, there's a retaining wall that was constructed in place of, originally we had the edge of the building, we had an exposed foundation, we had almost two walkways. We had one high, one low with stairs in between. During the building permit process, it was determined that the foundation and the footing had to be deeper than what was originally entailed. If the commission remembers, we were proposing to bring in approximately 4 feet of fill on site, on average. A little less here, a little more there, but it's about 4 feet of fill. With the foundation wall and the footing being driven deeper into the ground, would have resulted into more fill on site, trying to balance construction costs and maintain close to what was approved. I talked to the previous site contractor and said, well, if you do a retaining wall, get the grade back closer to existing grade, you remove the fill, which originally they didn't want to do a wall just for the cost, but again, reevaluating the cost, the wall was cheaper, so the contractor installed the wall, regraded everything accordingly, but one thing that he did was push the wall further out than what was originally talked about when we went through this. So compound that with the paving contractor that came out, paved the site, so not only was the pavement pushed out because the wall was pushed out, the contractor also paved more area than what was proposed. The biggest, if you look at this plan, is where the concrete pad is. In the light gray underneath is the,
This right here.
yep, so that was the approved layout.
Right
And then
there.
everything in dark is the as-built. So kind of where that red circle is, where you can see the dark concrete pad, yep, right in that area. That was additional payment that was added that was not ever part of the plan. So,
EOP edge of payment, is that what we're?
yes,
Okay.
correct. So I can't give you a reason why said contractor did that. Being on site with this being, yeah, and where the cursor is right now, that little additional payment is resulting in, again, the construction of the retaining wall on the right-hand side. You can see where it says deck and stairs. In front of that is a retaining wall. So essentially, it was known that payment extended beyond the limits as approved. There's additional payment. Based on my calculation, there's about 1,000 square feet of additional pavement.
How much?
1,000 square feet in total. So the first thing I wanted to do was show the commission what the approved plan and the as-built looks like. And then I did submit 3 potential solutions to resolve this issue. That fully understanding that payment's gonna have to come out. We know that, but due to the construction of the retaining wall, the construction of the building, we're gonna have to find some middle ground because it all can't come back out. If not, we don't meet the required parking and drive aisle widths that are needed. So on that side there was 4 parking spaces proposed.
Yep.
The 3 options I'm proposing do maintain the 4 parking spaces. A couple different layouts, variations that I would appreciate the commission's input on what they would want. The 3 options also do remove the 1,000 square feet of impervious. So we get back, doesn't matter which one the commission chooses, it gets you back to what was approved for impervious area. It's gonna be in a few different spots than what was approved. So with that, if we,
Before we move forward on that, let's go through a little bit more of the background on how we came to this meeting this evening. So again, the temporary occupancy was requested. Danny, the town planner, received the as-built. This is the only one I've ever seen. I never received an as-built. Because of the order of conditions we have on site, which is per our bylaw, not the state, we have our order of conditions, which was for what you see in the light gray, was only for these items with a detailed planning plan, a remediation of the knotweed in the back, and I think it maybe have been 1 or 2 other items on there. What we have on site now, just so you guys know, the 100-foot buffer line goes somewhere in between, in the middle, right around in this area here. I asked you to put on the plan. It's not.
no, and
But it's
it's
at the-
about right
it's-
there at
yeah,
the end.
it's at the edge of the building
Yep.
here. So everything that we're talking about, when we're saying the 100,000 square feet of extra pavement, if that's within the buffer, or is it on the total site?
It's on the total site.
Okay.
So there,
That's an important aspect of
Yes.
this, because all we have jurisdiction over is that. So when we're looking at these as-built plans and looking at options, all we have jurisdiction over is everything from that going towards
Yeah.
the street. What the concern of the commission, that the commission needs to look at is, when we're looking at on site now, because the way the pavement looks and stuff now, we have we have it in our requirements, we need to have a 3-to-1 slope. I mean, obviously the site's not done, right now it's like, at some point it's 1-to-1, it just drops straight off and then goes into vegetation, with little to no room to do any sort of grading in there now. So just keep that in mind when we're looking at this edge of pavement here, that we have a very tight site when we're looking at trying to create that grade in there, so we can get more in our planting plan that was done. I just want to bring that up there.
So clarification, so where it's 1-to-1, we want it 1 to 3,
Well,
3 to 1.
so our requirements are in our order of conditions, and all sites, it has to be a 3-to-1 slope.
Okay.
So whether that were to change or not, we'd have to figure that part out. That's one aspect of this, is figuring out the grades from that parking lot out, what those grades are going to be now, along with the planting plan. I know, and we'd have to verify the planting plan on that, because and so you know too, and I did send some pictures, the old foundation was taken out and used as a retaining wall, like a walk wall along the border of the line around the property.
Is it a stone foundation?
Stone foundation, and part of that is within the buffer. So that was originally supposed to be planting without that. Now that we have, just so you know what's on site, there is a makeshift stone wall there.
and on this plan, if you look at the bottom
You
left-hand
can see
corner,
the stone block.
see it says stone block wall at the bottom of the page, and it makes an L, kind of a wonky L shape.
I don't know why it's delayed on the screen. It's fine with me. but
Yep, but
So it's right here.
starts there, goes down the page,
And,
it it kicks off to the right.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
within.
in that. Yeah, this is all in the 50-foot, which was not on the original plan as well.
Why was that placed there?
So, I believe to help mitigate with some of the runoff, because they're just big rocks. They're not buried in the ground or anything. They were just taken in.
They're just placed.
They're just placed right at grade. So I think it was something that the contractor, I need a spot to put these, I just put them on the ground.
Instead of disposing of them off-site.
Yeah, I think potential landscape feature
This
at the end, but again, I would just,
Yeah, no.
for the commission's knowledge, they're not buried blocks.
No, they're not buried blocks.
So,
With regards to the original plan in the lighter gray,
Yep.
Sorry.
it appears that there's supposed to be curbing around there. Is there?
There is
curbing
supposed to be
at-
curbing,
So,
there's no curbing right now.
as, well, as part of the final, so, as part of the, this is a temporary certificate of occupancy, so everything's not completely fine, like, there's no top coat on site,
Yeah,
everything's
just
at binder.
coat.
So, as part of the final certificate of occupancy, you would have your loam and seed, you'd have your curbing, you'd have all that. That gets filed with the town, and then and the commission will also need a certificate of compliance, which would be a final as-built as well.
And that's just the
So,
other
When the
aspect of
curbing
this.
finally goes in, does the curbing get placed on top of the pavement? Or does it go extend even beyond the EOP?
So it's on top of the edge of pavement, and then you top to it.
Okay. just
So,
wanted to
yeah, we're not adding another foot and a half
check. This-
from
yeah,
that
that's
edge
what
of
I'm trying
line.
to get to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You said it was 1,000 feet
Feet of additional pavement.
Of
across the entire site.
Across
Do you know
the-
about how much is in our jurisdiction?
I don't, and the only reason I say that is probably a good chunk of it because again,
Yeah,
where the concrete pad is, that's
Yeah.
the majority of it.
yeah, because
Uh,
it is, so if you look on the plan, the concrete pad was supposed to go over here. It is now shifted over here. There was a planting plan for this area right here. It is now all paved. And additional pavement was put up here because of an issue with the ADA
compliance.
compliance to the entrance. So the pavement was bumped out here, and there may have been a little extra added in this section, but the majority of it, I would say,
Is
is within the buffer.
yeah, so where on the screen, if you see the red circle, between the red circle and the concrete pad, that's the majority of it.
I mean, there is an extra,
I would guess 2 to 3 feet going out beyond closer to the,
Yeah,
and
and
then what was approved from this end on, over here.
And to your point, Heather, about the jurisdiction as well, like if we're asking for remediation,
yes.
we can't control whether they end up doing anything in the front.
We
can only control-
we can only control what's going on in the back, and just so you know too, as part of it, there is, this change in here, which only the bottom of it falls into our jurisdiction here a little bit. This was all supposed to be loam and seed with, vegetation planted, and now it's proposed to be riprap.
so I would say with that will be taken out. That's more of a
It's kind of a
Ero-
temporary
ero-
thing for construction. just to
erosion
help with
control.
erosion, right.
Okay.
yeah.
Because I mean, the abutter is really close to the building.
Yeah.
And like I said, with all the disturbances going on, it honestly makes it easier and cleaner just to keep riprap there to help stabilize everything.
Yeah, so you're gonna keep it there.
No,
No,
for
no,
now,
no, no, no.
and then,
Okay.
and then when
Right
you, when
now.
you do the final site work, right,
It's-
when the
it-
final site work.
Oh, there
Yeah, it's gonna stay there for now, but as part of the final CO,
Would go back to the,
we're gonna go back
the
to
landscape plan?
yes, loam seed and
Okay.
plantings. So
That's what that's what I was trying to get to.
yep,
All right.
yeah, and that's with this being a progress as built. There's a lot of things on here that aren't shown because they're not done, are shown because they're there as part of ongoing construction that won't be there when you get the final as built for the final CO. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and I just want to make sure everyone's clear on it. The biggest thing is, yes, we know that the paving contractor paid them way more than what he should have. The wall being built where it was built pushed everything out. Trying to see it on site again just trying to see it on site, it is hard to, you go out there and you're like, everything looks like it's supposed to be doing what it's doing. And then you get on a plan and you actually see it from 1,000 feet and go, yep, they missed. And this was also done during the fall and the winter, so some of the edge of pavement was covered with snow, so you can't, surveyor can't see it, surveyor can't shoot it. So there's a lot of factors in here, but again, we know what the issues are, acknowledge the issues, we want to fix the issues, and we want the commission's input on how they would prefer to see it done. And keep in mind with trying to meet parking drive aisles, because we do have to maintain 20 feet for fire department access. We do have to maintain whether, and you'll see in the options, whether it's perpendicular spaces, parallel spaces, we do have to maintain the parking space size per zoning. So my goal tonight is to come to some sort of agreement. Like I said, I have 3 options that I think cover everything that we could probably do. And if we walk away tonight saying, well, I like part of this one, I like part of that one, that's absolutely fine. I'm not stuck to one of the 3. I just want to give the commission kind of a broad scope of what we could potentially do here to come to a resolution.
Do you have anything to add, Heather, before we see those 3 options?
Not yet.
Okay.
Just one final thing on there, just so you know, the existing site does have binder pavement on it. It's not to final, has binder paving. It's not to final grade. There would have to be final grading on there, because as it currently sits now, the stormwater is flowing from the street down straight to the back and not flowing in any certain direction, just going straight back.
Yeah, so before we move, I'll explain that. So when you look at the site right now, you come off Park Street, which is on the far right, you come down the drive, and you can see the 5 lines kind of in the middle of the page. That's where your grades start going down to the back. So there is a break point in those contours where some of it does sheet towards the stone wall that's shown. Some of it does come down around the corner and into the lower parking field. Some of the, as part of the final paving, things like that, that grading will be readjusted to direct the flow. And again, there's going to be curbing there. So this isn't, even in the final, it's not going to sheet right off site.
No.
It's going to hit the curbing.
Yeah, the original design was to come in and go this
Hit the
way
curb and
And-
run along the curb and come
get,
down.
and get to that.
It'll still do that in the final condition once everything's done. Just right now, again, because there's no curbing, because there's nothing in the way it's graded.
It's not finished, so it's not working right.
Exactly.
But
So-
just so you know going forward, because there's going to be questions and requests made, so just so you know what the site looks like now.
Yep.
Okay. Just going back to the house or the building, whatever.
Yep.
The concrete wall that's there, just to the left of where it says deck stairs.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Was that always where the end of the building was supposed to be?
No. So the building is actually pretty close to, give or take how the surveyor can get the shot on the corner of the building.
Is that the dotted line going top to bottom?
So the dotted
inside the box that says 2-story building?
So that was an interior walkway that was shown on the original plan.
What was an interior walkway?
That dotted line. So between the edge of building, yeah, where the hatch marks are, inside there was an interior walkway.
Okay.
On our plans, if we have major corridors like that, we show a dotted line, just to say this is separate from what's being usable area.
Okay.
So that's what that dotted line is. So we originally had walkways, which you could, again, overlaying everything makes it a little messy to see, but there was a walkway underneath where the deck stairs are. The issue is, by building out that retaining wall, they built it out 3 feet,
Yeah.
4 feet further than 3 feet, 4 feet further than what we had originally talked about when we made the change. And that's why you're seeing 3 to 4 feet on the opposite side with the edge of pavement.
The retaining wall was,
So the retaining wall was supposed to be closer to the building. They bumped it out, which then
3 to 4 feet.
3 to 4 feet, which you chase that through.
Oh, then the building got
Well,
pushed out?
no, so the building's good.
Okay,
Retaining wall was supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Retaining wall got built here.
Right.
So from here, now we do measurements for edge of pavement, but because it came out
Yeah.
further than what it should have, that's why you see on the left-hand side, a little bit of pavement beyond a couple, 3 to 4 feet beyond the approved edge of pavement. So that, now, again, I can't explain why they came down and squared off to the concrete pad instead of coming up like the plan showed. So that's kind of where there was, someone missed, it pushed the measurements off, but then, again, I can't give you an explanation. I really can't. I would love to and say he did for this reason, but even I was looking at it going, why?
Well, as soon as it was brought up that we're putting in a concrete wall 3 feet from the original location,
So,
who's the site supervisor that's not saying, ding, ding, ding,
so it
we need
wasn't,
to change the plan to make sure we don't encroach?
so it, that's what I'm getting at. It wasn't talked about moving it 3 feet from where. That wall was supposed to be back tighter to the building.
So they
That-
just did it without asking.
I think they moved it just, they did it.
Everything that's wasn't approved in the plan was just done without prior approval either from us nor planning board, because this was all be a minor, had to be a site plan modification. None of that was requested.
And it was only found out because you
Only
went
was
through the
found out.
temporary act.
With the,
Temporary occupancy, yeah.
with the progress as built.
I guess I have a hard time thinking that it was just found out when we looked for that. I mean, it's under construction, it's been under construction for months on end. The site's been like being reviewed. Owner, whomever's just checking on it weekly, daily, whatever. I mean, you realize that the wall's been definitely not what we were planning to do. And so now it's just being identified. I guess that's a little odd. But, okay, let's see what the proposals are.
So this is option 1, and I'll go through it. I'll start on the right-hand side. Yes, it is outside the 100-foot buffer zone for the commission, but just so you have an idea of what we're doing. The gray hatch there is, the gray hatch with the red line is the limit of pavement up at the front there. We would be proposing to remove that, tie the entrance back into the existing curb cut, and that gray area would become loam seed landscaping. So pavement goes away, grass and landscaping goes back in that place. We would probably put granite curb along the edge of hatching just to separate the ADA walkway from the grassed area. As you move page left, we're still showing where the one with circle is. We're showing one parallel parking space there. And then to the left of that, we would restore that landscape island as close as to what was approved, keeping in mind that with the revised layout up top, they're maintaining the 20-foot for the fire department access, and then showing where the parking spaces would be. That would be pavement removed, loam and seed, plantings back in place. So if you go page up from that landscaped area, I'm showing that we can still maintain the 5 parking spaces on the right, yep, right there. So there was 5 parking spaces originally proposed along the walkway. I can still maintain the 5 parking spaces in front of the retaining wall as shown. And then from there, we come over 20 feet, again, maintaining fire department access. The minimum 20 feet is what they wanted. So with this option, I'm showing 2 parking spaces down by the concrete pad as placed out there today. I'm showing a landscaped area. In that area would be, that would be loam and seed. I would propose a New England wetland seed mix there since we're in the buffer zone. And plantings. And then again, I'm showing 2 more spaces, 9 by 18. And then on the other side, again, the red line would be edge of pavement and the gray hatch would be pavement removed and loam and seed, wetland seed mix and plantings. So this one maintains the 4 9 by 18 spaces that we originally showed. Again, it's a little bit of a different layout, but this one, the intent is to rip away as much pavement as possible, as close to that drainage swale as we can, which is shown on the page left in the blue teal color there. So this could be a potential option.
Before we move on, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions?
My opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my original opinion when I first saw this in my original thought was I would like to see it go back to the approved plan. Apparently that's not an option. So
Well, not without great expense. Oh, right. Yes.
Not, yes.
because of that retaining wall, apparently it's not an option because
Correct.
we have to maintain that additional whatever feet on one at some point in that buffer. So
Knowing that I will not go back the way you
knowing,
want, and what are your thoughts on?
on this plan as a
Mhm.
whole, I don't like the 2 separate landscaped areas with parking in between. I feel like that's gonna be too hard to maintain, and one of them's gonna end up being a trash pile.
Okay,
That's just my opinion on it.
all right.
You're gonna have cars parking in between it, they might throw stuff in there, they might drop stuff out of their car, they're not gonna pick it up. Having that vegetation between, I don't think is gonna be beneficial at all, to break it up that way.
Plan 2.
Number 2.
Do all 3 of your proposed plans leave that kind of random stone block wall thing hanging out there?
I think it's just something to point out.
It's just left on the plans. That was something, going back to working with the commission, if that's something that the commission's adamant about removing, I think that can go and disappear. So, option 2, again, working plan right to plan left, same thing, doing the same thing up top, still maintain the landscape aisle. On the corner, still maintain the 5 parking spaces. This one, we're still maintaining 2 spaces up against the concrete pad. The change of this one is the landscaped area gets modified a little bit. We're showing 2 parallel parking spaces, 9 by 22s, and we're ripping, again, in the gray hatch, we would remove and put loam and seed with the New England wetland seed mix back in the buffer zone. The difference between, I'll point this out now, difference between both option 1 and options 2 and 3 is options 2 and 3 do require us to put a little bit of pavement back in to square off parking spaces. So where you see the note kind of at the top, where the edge of the gray rectangle is, that's about 35 square feet of pavement that we would have to add, again, to maintain a zone compliant parallel parking space. But this one, we do pull back the length of pavement within the limits of what was approved. Again, the trade-off would be we would have to square off and add a little bit of pavement at the end of the parking space.
Can you use the pointer and just show where the added pavement would go?
Yeah, it is, sorry, right here.
Yep, right in there.
Oh, okay. So
Yep. So
that amounts to how much?
it's about 35 square feet.
But when we're looking at that I believe is in that 30-foot buffer zone.
And that's, again, we're putting the pavement, it is closer to the jurisdictional swale.
So we can't do this?
So, and that was the idea with option 1 is we're not on any pavement. we're taking it all out, we can have our 4 spots within the limits of the pavement shown, and we could take out. This one, again, we're pulling out pavement. We are pulling it a little bit further away from the swale than the previous one. But again, a slight trade-off would be to add about 35 square feet, again, just to square off the parking spot. And keep in mind that, again, all these options do get the project back to the impervious. Even with this addition, we have a trade-off that we can still make the numbers work. And then on top of that, I'll add this, if it makes the commission feel better regarding stormwater, there's an extra 300 square feet of impervious area that could be added to the infiltration basin and still meet the stormwater requirements. That was one thing I did discuss with the planner. Ideally, I don't want to use any of that excess volume I have in my basin, but I don't want the commission to sit here and go, well, you're adding, is that going to affect your infiltration basin? It won't. So this is number 2.
Yep.
Thoughts on that, Heather, before we move
Oh,
on?
I don't like the additional pavement.
Right, okay.
It's closer.
I do like the removal
Mhm.
of more on the side, but I don't like the addition on there at all.
So option 3 is same thing up at the top, same thing with the island in the
Okay,
middle.
Sorry, let me make it full screen. It makes it a little bit
Still
better.
got the additional at that top corner, left?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a little bit more.
Yep, so it's a little bit more. That's probably 55, 60 square feet, just because we're turning the space perpendicular instead of parallel. But this removes the giant chunk of impervious that was paved next to the concrete pad. So,
And what is code require? How many spots?
so this means I need 11 total, including the handicap. I have 11 right now. So I have 4 on one side, I have 5 up against the retaining wall, that's my 9, and then 2 up top at the building gives me the 11.
And the 11 have to be full-size cars
Full.
versus like
So,
a small amount of compact units.
so based on the zoning, the only time that it mentions compact spaces are allowed is if you have 50 or more. Because I did look at, believe me, do my full size, my 5 full size come over 20 feet, and I think compact in air is 8 by 16. I would love to, but reading the zoning, it's not readily allowed unless you have, you almost get into a commercial parking field. So that was something we did look at. So my opinion would be option 1 because we're not adding any pavement. I know it's not ideal separating the landscaped areas, but they are 2 larger landscaped areas that would tie into the back. So where it is around the light pole, that's a fairly sized landscaped area. That's not a small, it's not a small 3-foot one that you typically would see at the end of a parking field where everything dies that grows on it and it just becomes dirt. That would be sizable enough to maintain vegetation. And then up at the top, that one would blend into the existing site, so that would become more natural growth. So I think this one or option 2, because the parallel does pull it away, but I know that it is only 35 square feet, but yes, we would need some additional payment. Just again, it's only to square off the parking to make it compliant. So with that, and like I said at the beginning, if there's maybe something in the middle we can come to, we're willing to work with the commission, but I think the 3 options presented are really the 3 most viable and at least the 3 that have the best solid base to start with.
How big does a parking space need to be again?
So a perpendicular one needs to be 9 by 18. A parallel needs to be 9 by 22.
And there's no way to use that additional pavement that was placed
So,
on the south side, I guess.
so we're maximizing as much as we can with the 2 spaces there, because from the second space where number 2 is, 9 feet puts it into where the light pole is. So I'm in the light pole with a parking space. That's why we stopped with 2 there, and then gave myself a couple feet off of.
No, I'm sorry,
Yep.
I didn't explain it properly. I'm talking on the south side, closer to Park Street, where the pavement kind of.
Oh,
No,
right here?
so
That right there.
yeah, so that is. We can't do that because if we did put a parking space there, we wouldn't maintain the 20 feet from the edge of striping for fire department.
Right there.
So the dark hatching.
Okay.
Yep.
For the handicap.
Okay. Extending that pavement closer to the property line, you couldn't do that. for zero elevation.
That pavement got bumped out as is
Okay.
to make sure that fire department could get into the site.
Okay,
So if we-
that edge of pavement is what needs to be.
Yes, it
Okay.
is what needs to be to.
I thought that was still excess, so, okay.
No, and that
No.
was due to a project change due to the handicap, the ADA accessible decking that had to be added here.
Okay.
That was a whole different.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah. It is resolved. Building signed off on it. Fire department's okay with it. But that dark line you see there for the edge of pavement is what we had to do to get them to sign off.
And that didn't come before us because it's outside.
That's outside, yes, correct.
That was approved by the planning board.
No, it has not.
The,
None of the site plan modifications have been approved by the planning board or the town planner at this time.
including the ADA change?
Correct.
Can we go to option 2 again?
Mm-hmm.
Just forgive me, it's a little slow.
So, I like option 2 in the sense that it allows us to hopefully get to the
Correct.
less than a 1 by 1.
Yeah,
Right.
I like it, I like that one better
It was your
myself.
magic number, 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the reason this is my second one is only because we are asking for some additional payment as part of the trade-off. And with the coming here tonight of, hey, the contractor missed and overpaid, we're gonna fix it by pulling payment away, but we need to add payment. It's kind of.
It's kind of a,
So do you need to have the, I'm gonna say no, where you have the light pole?
So, can you show where that is, that light?
oh, the light pole?
Yeah.
The light pole's right here.
Yeah.
That guy right there.
Yep.
Is there a reason why we can't take those 2 parallel spots and shift them south? So that the front of parking, I think they're both marked parking spot 2, but basically where
Well,
that light pole is.
I'm just
One,
counting
two,
how
one,
many.
two.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, right above where she has the cursor,
Yeah.
you can see the solid red line. That would be. I don't know if you could zoom in a
This
little.
right here?
Yeah, that. Is there a way you can zoom in just?
I can't.
No, that's all right.
I've been trying and
Here.
I can't. I have to go out and then I can zoom in, I think.
No, you're good.
Yeah, no.
I'll point to it.
Just don't touch it.
Nope.
Well, it's different,
I-
it's different
It's a
than the old
touchscreen.
ones.
It's a touchscreen.
No.
Oh, it's
No,
not?
it's not like the old TVs, you can touch these ones.
Oh,
and
okay,
have
okay.
We won't freak out.
I just want to make sure.
We have new ones that doesn't do that.
So right here would be the edge of pavement for the start of the parking spot. It's about 2 feet off the light pole, and then you have to keep in mind that edge of pavement is going to be a berm there too. So I gotta give a little. I can't pave right up to the edge of light pole. I gotta give.
Move the light pole.
No. Conduits.
Why?
Is the light pole in the
Yes.
approved location? Have we figured that out yet?
I believe that one is that's outside buffered, outside jurisdiction. I have to deal with Danny with that one. But the one that we're looking at, yeah.
That one's in the, that's in the
believe-
proposed location.
Yes, I
Okay.
believe it's
'Cause
slightly.
there was that question, it was just hard to
Yeah.
tell because of all the pavement on site.
Yes.
No one would know if you moved it 3 feet, like a concrete wall.
How easy is it to move a light pole?
Is
It's
it
not
there?
there yet.
It's not there.
Oh, it's,
No,
no, it's there.
no,
Oh, no,
they're
it is
there.
there.
Oh, they're
That's why
there.
I'm phrasing the question this way,
Yeah,
because
it's,
it's poured conduits into it.
the conduit, the problem is the conduit one runs from the light pole in the middle of the parking lot to the one that we're talking about now, so it's under the pavement. So we'd have to cut the parking lot apart to get to it.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, where's your conduit running from?
Justin, can you show the one with the bump up by the handicap spot?
Yep.
That light post? So it picks up that light post and it goes all the way down to the one by the dumpster pad
yeah.
and feeds that way,
Under the pavement.
under the pavement.
Correct. Believe me, if the light post wasn't there, this would be a much easier conversation.
Does it terminate there?
No, I would.
No, I think it feeds.
I would figure it goes from here and it
Does go to
feeds to
there?
the next one down at the end here. Which again, I'm a couple feet off that one too. I'm squeezing these parallel spaces as tight in between the
It's
two
like the
poles.
light posts were made for parallel spots. I mean, it's close.
Yeah.
It's close.
What, does anything, does this do to the snow storage proposed on site?
Snow storage was still proposed to be on the backside curb and hauled off by private contractor as needed. That we would still
It was,
maintain.
it was in the order of conditions to have it allowed in the buffer like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just making sure.
So
With
you're telling me that light post that's in the added pavement that you needed, that still passes the distance that the fire department's requiring, that you paved around it? Like putting
So-
a telephone pole in the middle of a street?
it's not in the middle.
Not that one, the one down there.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 20 feet here. I have 20.2 feet here. So I have more than 20 feet in here.
So that light pole being on the edge there in the pavement is not an issue.
No, they'll ideally have to be marked out as a kind of blocked off area.
Mm-hmm.
With Ballard.
Yeah, bollard if need be.
Ballards around
Yeah,
there.
yeah. If
And that's not going to limit that distance and
Nope.
encroach, and you've got more than enough room.
Yep, we're good up there. That was a headache in its own right. That we got fire and building to agree to that. Again, with the light pole where it is.
And we're currently paved all the way to the left. They paved around the light post
Mhm.
that you can't move.
Mm-hmm.
So they paved, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, again, I can't speak for the former contractor on.
this light pole here is pavement all around it, and it's not enough to really be like, oh, I could park a car behind it. It's just there.
The only thing I could think is that on the original plan, it did say snow storage between the light post and the dumpster, and they might have thought that that was asphalt. That's the only thing.
Yeah,
The only
yeah,
thing.
but I mean, but again,
possibly. But
that's
that's-
that's here. That's not here.
Well, again, this here is a result of the retaining wall. So we're fighting two things right now. That because of the retaining wall, when they did their measurements coming out, that's why they're a couple feet beyond what was approved to what we're showing. And as Mike said, they might have took a leap and, oh, snow storage, well, pave it so they can put it there. I've never seen that. usually snow storage shown on plan is a rough cloud, and it's just, yep, okay, when the guy comes down, he's gonna push the snow, he's gonna put it there. Doesn't have to be paved. So, but it's the best working theory that we have.
Yeah.
I like that.
Any other questions?
So just not to like push on the light pole thing, but the amount of, if we went with plan 2, option 2, and you'd be tearing up all the asphalt around the light pole, but that isn't sufficient to move the conduit?
No, because
I understand like where it's
going,
from, so
and
you
that's
can't
that's
then,
really
like,
it.
Splice it and move it.
No, but if you do that, it has to be, any splice has to be above ground in a junction box, and
Gotcha.
it's a bigger nightmare than it's
Okay.
worth.
Thank you for explaining.
Absolutely.
So you've been handed a big problem. I understand that. You're cleaning up somebody else's mess,
Yep,
but there is a big mess.
there is a mess.
It needs to be fixed.
It does.
Does anyone want to go out and look at this? Would that help? Anyone to have put eyes on this?
I wouldn't mind.
We're going out on Saturday.
We're going out on Saturday on a site walk anyway.
Yep.
Can we plug you in?
I think I can be there. Can you two be there if I can't? Okay.
Can the
What-
commissioners be there?
What time do you think?
We're on Pine Street at 9, so I can't imagine Pine Street being too long.
Right,
Probably be here around, what, 9:30?
9:30?
Probably I'd say around 9:30.
Around 9:30?
9:30. Yeah, I think I can. Think I can make that work. Worst case.
Yeah.
No, but, yeah.
It was raining the last time.
It
we did the
was.
site visit.
We love the rain.
And it was raining pretty good if I remember.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was.
So 9:30.
Are we able to park on site? I know there's lots
Yeah.
of asphalt, so.
Yes.
Tons of
Plenty of room.
I
You
just
can
wasn't
take
sure
your
if there's
pick.
construction vehicles and stuff.
No. You'll be able to pull in.
The only thing that's on site is the paver, and I had them pull it out as far from the buffer as we could.
So.
Anything else before?
Thank you.
Is that question still on the table of the temporary occupancy?
Ideally, yes. Would this be something? Try to figure this out the right way. So she's trying to get her temporary occupancy signed off. Other than the pavement issue, the other outstanding issues have been addressed with the planner on how they're to be resolved. Understand there's 5CO coming. Understand that the work is going to be, there's going to be remediation done on this site. That's why I had the contractor come tonight to talk about what's viable, what's not, what can be done. So the planner is, if the commission is willing to make a decision one way or the other and allow Ms. Goldknott to move forward, he could sign the TCO tomorrow so they can at least start getting the business in. I know the commission wants to walk on the site on Saturday. Totally fine, we can meet there on site. I would just like to not have her TCO held up because, again, we know there's a solution. I think my feeling is we're leaning towards option 2, maybe option 2 modified slightly, depending on what we can do. But knowing that with the rain season, again, this would all be final stabilized at the right time. We don't want to do it now and have it get washed out with the heavy rains. And again, the final certificate of occupancy will need an as-built both for the planning department as part of the stormwater permit, and a certificate of compliance would have to be filed with the commission to close out the order of condition, which you would also receive the as-built as well. And at that time, if hopefully there aren't any outstanding issues left, the final CO wouldn't be signed off on. So if the commission could give a blessing of moving forward with the TCO, we can, again, we can still meet on site, we can still offline work through what option is the viable one and go forward with that. I would just like Ms. Golden not to walk away with a TCO tomorrow from the plant department.
And if
Or sorry, plant department to give the blessing for the building department to issue the TCO, right?
Well,
Something like that.
something like that.
Yeah, it was basically, when planning walked it, they said that if, when conservation gives their
Conservation.
blessing on the plan,
Yeah, it's-
then they'll
it's all
give
up to us.
the
The-
blessing for the TCO. That's what they want to.
And if I could add, I feel terrible this happened. I'm very sorry. And I do feel bad that I have a business waiting to be moved in there. I've already pushed her out enough. And she's been suffering. Clients pushed out. She's a very established business, been 8 years. She has a ton of following, and they're all patiently waiting to be serviced in this brand new, very luxury salon. So I would hate for the mistakes that myself and my contractors made to affect her business financially. So again, it would be very appreciated.
Would this just be the occupancy permit for the business, not the residence yet?
It would be, no, the residents are ready too, but if it makes the commission better, I still have to get them professionally cleaned, touch-up paint.
There's still a little bit
There's
to
still
go.
more.
Yeah.
I got to get them staged and then list them, and then, so I don't expect the upstairs for like another month or two.
The biggest one would be for the business, to get the business in and get the business going. That's the big push. So again, sidewalk, absolutely fine. Obviously willing to still work through this if it's Heather and I communicate offline. If we do have, whenever your next meeting is, if we come back and need to still have further discussion, absolutely fine. It would just be a huge help if we could get a blessing for them to move forward and have builders sign the TCO.
What are your thoughts, Jess?
Before we did that,
Yeah.
do we have any people in the audience who want to speak to this?
Oh, is there anyone out there that would?
I'm the business owner she's talking about, so I just came here to support with my team. I do have the things I could say, but I just, if I do, I'd rather talk up there. I like if you guys want me to talk, I'll come up there. But like, this is the only reason why I'm here, is because this is the people that I work with. This is my manager, this is my vice manager. We have been patiently waiting. I have drained all of my savings. I'm working 2 places. I believed in Allie's dream. I have owned a business in Shirley. I specifically did a ton of research before moving to this town and taking an opportunity like this, because you guys are so small business focused. You guys did a ton of stuff for COVID relief. It does great for my business because of the commuter rail. I plan to bring nothing but positivity to this town, being, like, again, I'm not trying to be anything more in the sense of like, I am established. I plan to bring so much good here. And I know Allie in the sense that she's been doing everything right. The handicap was a lot of work, the parking spot. Justin's worked so diligently. I can't even tell you how much Mike has been out there to try to fix somebody else's mistakes. Like, if I can just please get in there, because I am on the brink of nothing. And I have came to the town several times, and I came out of like, I just want you to know, I'm just speaking for Secret Grotto, the person that chose to move their business from another town to here. I'm investing in this town because I believe in it. So I'm just begging for some mercy so I can please open my doors.
All right, well, thank you for that. Your thoughts on issuing a
Well,
temporary?
with the knowledge that we're going to wind up with a remediation option, I don't have a problem with blessing temporary.
Jen?
Agreed, because it's the temporary.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah.
I'm okay with temporary, but just for the business, I want to limit it at a minimum.
Right.
So that's,
I think that's what they would said.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
well, you indicated possibly a month or 2 before maybe the apartments were ready, but
And we would
make
hope
sure
that,
this is complete.
yeah, and the
before
remediation
those
should be,
apartments are-
yeah. We would hope to have the remediation work done before the second floor would be ready.
Yeah. And on the
And that's
plantings
what I'm
and the
asking.
grading, and I would assume the whole.
Yeah, it's part of
Well,
the,
I'm just saying, you issue a temporary certificate of occupancy
Yes.
to be limited to the business as opposed to the whole
Yes.
building.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I can pass that along if that's what the commission, is it. My only question on the whole temporary, obviously we gotta get the dumpster in on site, right? In order before we open,
For-
there's no dumpster on site, so if we're gonna open a salon, a
Yeah.
business, we need a dumpster on site. And
Pa-
parking, so is it gonna be required that the parking be like somehow marked out, or is it just gonna be a quote unquote, like I wanna say like a free-for-all with the additional pavement that's out there? Can we make that request that
So
at
strike
least
it.
Do you want us
like
to?
get temporary striping for some of the parking
You
to
have
try
plenty
to
of
try to
paint.
keep it?
I've got some paint.
Maybe just to try to keep it as far as to we're not using some of that additional pavement for now, because with
yeah.
the salon, you don't need all 11 spaces right now, right? We can try to keep it to the wall, stripe that. I mean, you might, but I would try like to keep that away from that if we could, because we're just doing a temporary at this point.
So with that, would I know it wouldn't be fully, if the commission's leaning towards the parallel, this is what I'm going off of, we can't fit that other space, but we could definitely paint out the 5 on the wall, and we could paint out some by the concrete pad, and then we'll just leave that one where we're looking for additional pavement. We'll leave that one unmarked, so we'll have 10 that we could really use.
Paint it out.
And we'll paint it out so that way.
Stakes and just kind of.
Yeah.
Just try to paint,
Hopefully
that's just my thought, I mean, because you're gonna need it too.
Help,
if you
help
park.
guide people.
Just guide people, so we're
Yep.
not using the additional pavement for now, and
Or
try
you
to keep people away
just
from
hatch
it
it out
while
like
we
the
use it.
handicap spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
that's all, I just, just as my opinion on, my
Yeah.
thoughts on it, to try to keep it away from that additional
that's-
pavement at this moment, and just, too, like, obviously, we going on site, wherever.
Tied the
Yeah,
tape to the lake.
you are gonna have a dumpster out there too, so that will be accessed and
Can't be moved.
cleaned out.
Okay, before we go, George, what are your thoughts?
So, if I understand this right, basically, we're going ahead on a handshake, we're saying,
Correct.
nothing gets written down till it's, the very end.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all right with that. As long as we understand that.
and again, I went through this last night in another town, kind of same thing, and there's a final certificate of occupancy that has to come. This is, as-built has to come back, that the town does have leverage at the end of this project to hold it up if there are things that aren't met or if there's unresolved issues. So it's not I don't want you to think it's a free pass to have at it. There is one more big hurdle that we'll have to come back in front of both the commission and the board for.
How long is it temporary for?
I don't know, I'd have to ask
And we could limit that too,
building inspector.
would assume.
I don't have a problem,
I think limiting it would be
but what,
unfair.
say what?
I think that's what George is kind
Yeah.
of getting at, right?
Yeah.
What did
It's a
You want-
handshake kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all good.
Awesome. So,
All good for the whole temp or partial temp?
Partial.
the business.
The business,
The
The
okay.
business
business
end,
only.
you're good on the business end,
Okay,
and then we'll work through the rest and go
I'll
forward.
let the building department know in the morning.
perfect.
Awesome.
And this will let you get inside and start setting up for the business.
Yes.
When will that begin? A minute after you get the,
If they're signing,
10:01 on Saturday.
Well, I said the building department will issue it most likely tomorrow,
yeah,
given that it'll get, the parking area will get striped, but
yeah.
I
So,
can't assume that if it opens tomorrow that there'll be people there on Saturday. I don't imagine it would take
Would-
that fast, but.
I will do whatever you need to get done.
So-
I need to get working.
I would
I'll do it. I'll
think
paint it right now. Please.
theoretically, probably
I would say wait a couple days.
a couple days, probably
But-
to paint out.
Yeah.
Probably wait till this rain goes away,
Yeah.
because
Because they're talking rain tomorrow, snow Saturday,
Yeah.
snow Monday. I know we've got a big pour on Tuesday, so.
Yeah, no, and the
Oh,
The,
jeez.
yeah, it's just gonna rain. So the painting, that's entirely up to the commission if you want, because of the rain, if you wanna just use cones to block off certain areas for
right.
now. Because
Yeah.
we
And
can't paint
Yeah.
to not hold things up, that's fine. I would like to see that additional paving that encroaches.
Some sort of barrier not
used.
used.
Cause I just, our luck, right, a car would park there and all of a sudden like the oil plug drops out and just leaks in, like, I don't, just to.
No, I like that. There's been enough headaches here. We don't need to
And it's no
offer more.
We can do.
We have cones on site that can
Yeah,
just put.
just for now until the weather turns to get it painted and
Yep.
just still have that as a requirement, but I know just the weather isn't in our favor right now.
You guys know what to do.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. Best of luck to you.
Thanks.
And
I appreciate
then,
it. This is the story of my life. Whatever. I call myself a dustpan. We'll keep it. Yeah.
Hoover.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like, I feel like it's running every like 30 or so or more, and then it's fun.
We'll see you Saturday morning in the liquid sunshine.
Definitely them. I will do my best to be there.
Okay, very good.
Awesome.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Enjoy your cookies.
Would you care for one?
Jeremy, you want to?
I really.
Yeah, you really.
You know what?
You know what? Pass them around.
It's been a long day.
What are they?
It's called a fruity doodle. It's got dried or freeze-dried fruit.
Come on, Jeremy.
Oh, it's got freeze-dried something. They're delicious.
I just wanna, I'm gonna shake all your guys' hands if that's okay. I wanna thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. No worries. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Heather, you make these?
No, his wife does.
Oh,
you're very welcome.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much, ladies. I really
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. So thrilled. My bank account and my debt and my collector's coming. So. Yeah, I mean, I still have some things I can do, but now that you guys did the like, I'll be in there all night. Like, I will be there getting. They're all hands on deck. We are next. Thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And the building's looking good.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Compared to what it was.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay.
Oh, I think we made some people happy.
That video on Facebook. With that video on Facebook.
That's right.
Remember that at town meeting with
Well, technically on YouTube, no matter what, so.
Alrighty.
So,
Yes.
next item on your agenda is
Yep.
the open space recreation plan, extension to 10 years. So, I found out from the state, the letter came in on April 2nd. I somehow missed it, but I did find out from another agent. The state is now offering any open space and recreation plan that has been approved in the last 7 years to request an extension for an additional 3 years. We just have to send some sort of letter and update our action plan to get that 7-year plan to go be good for 10 years. So really start in 2028. I thought we had until September to have this, like our plan expired until September of this year. It actually expires at the end of May.
Oh, it's coming.
So, we need to do this. I don't know if any of you were a part of writing that writing the recreation plan.
CPC.
Yeah. So I did find, thankfully, because I don't have any of this documentation in a file, I did somehow manage to find the action task, like a draft of that. We just have to modify it to make it to a 10-year plan, and then I guess submit some sort of letter. So I just wanted to let you all know and ask if anybody knows what or how or what do we need to do to because I did just find it, but I don't know if anybody randomly had something.
Janet Pravadakis would also be good to talk to.
Okay.
Or, no, actually, Beth Sudemeyer.
Yes.
She was in charge of the.
Yeah, I know
was
she wrote
basically-
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of group written too, but it was
Mhm.
used the school in,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
and they did not give us a good computer copy, electronic copy
Yeah.
to work with. Who's the fellow that used to be the Nashua River watershed? am blanking on his name. Al Futterman.
Oh, Al Futterman. Okay, I know him.
He was contracted at the very end to take it and sort of work it into something
Okay,
workable.
okay.
So technically, for technical
So
issues.
I'll try to reach out to Beth
Yeah, so Beth
and Al if he has, for
Yeah.
any strange reason. Like I said, I did find a draft, like, spreadsheet of the action plan, which is basically all I needed to modify and submit. I just gotta match that up to what I have in the plan up in my bookshelf. And then I think it's just one other thing I have, like a request to do it, so I just gotta verify that that's it, but,
Beth was in charge of the open space recreation plan.
Okay.
Update.
Yes.
committee.
yeah, so we will be having to ask that for extension, because I literally, I'm like, oh, I think it's due soon, and Dean's like, oh, you have to do it this year, I'm like, oh, okay, and then I got this notice, and I'm like, oh, you can go to the state's website and see, and it said ours was May 30th, I was like, oh, it's, the date on the plan says September, I thought I had till September, which still wasn't enough time, but that's okay. But this is great, this is, so just so you guys know where we are at with that. Fun things that not every agent has to deal with, I've never actually gone through them, but they are doing a nice, yes, it's a 10-year action plan, so we just have to update the action plan to make it for 10 years as opposed to 7, so I'll be going through and updating that, and I can send it out to anybody if they wanna look through it.
Yeah, make sure just Beth.
Yeah, we'll reach out to Beth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, very good. Under updates, there's one item that's not on the agenda that came to me yesterday, and it is in regards to the West Main Street Bridge replacement. We had the pre-construction meeting for that about a week and a half ago. The contractor had called me, and there is no good place to stage for this project because it's a tight neighborhood being over by West Main Street. The thought is to keep equipment at the DPW and do staging there and use the existing cart path that's behind there that comes out through right here. The issue with that is the culvert is collapsed. So they will have to put a temporary bridge out on site.
Is this the infamous culvert?
There is a beaver deceiver out there, so probably.
No, isn't that culvert, I think the one you're talking about, isn't it more to the?
There's a couple of them out there. This is if you're at the DPW
open
lot.
space, I think?
I think this is it.
I think, because this was the one that collapsed.
It's
and
collapsed.
then
It was
pried it open.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a corrugated pipe that looks like it's either collapsed and or opened, or yeah, it's a mess. I do have some
I thought they
pictures.
fixed that already. That's why I'm thinking it's not the same one, because I thought there was one further that way.
Well, there's fence that lays
Yeah.
down that
There's two cart paths.
Okay.
Oh, there's
But
two.
the other one was the one that, or maybe
Yeah.
that was already collapsed or whatever, and so it.
That was the one that was plugged up with the beaver debris and they just ripped it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one. Okay, so that's
There's
not this one.
there is another one that's
Okay.
out there. It might not be this one. There's a couple
Okay.
of them out there, but so that's the request. I did print the email out for you guys to review to see what work would entail on it. I did go out and look at the site today, and when I did that, I have some pictures. I did notice that there was a small pine tree that will actually have to come out in order to put this in. But they did have listed in there, some vegetation, like it's a pine tree.
How big?
I would say it's probably about 5 feet tall.
Oh, I was gonna say 5 feet diameter.
No, it's not like a pine tree. It was a. Oh yeah, the pictures aren't gonna work. Of course not. They're not gonna work. That's okay. I tried. Anyway, so there is that, but they show up there, but they're not opening. Anyway, there is just, so they have it in there. My thought is obviously we're gonna have to do some sort of filing on it. They're fine with whatever the commission decides. I don't, because they say, it's an exempted project because of the vegetation clearing, and they, in that email, I noticed that they have to bring some fill in to buff up the sides. They are proposing erosion controls, so I just, not sure what we're gonna ask them to file to do this. Because it will be a temporary disturbance once the construction is completed, for just, I think, about 2 years, that
What's the other option though?
will come.
So instead of doing that,
Instead of doing that, they'd have to drive everything all the way around and try to stage in the neighborhood.
And that's not a good area.
Yeah.
why?
There's not a lot of neighborhood right where that, I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of driveways or anything in that area.
Well, but if you go over the bridge where they wanted to put in the 50
Apartments.
units or whatever, right?
Mm.
In that massively open, nothing there.
Looking. My map.
Private, they'd have to like, what, rent it or something? Because it's not town property, right? There you go.
I mean, it'd be a temporary, like most temporary bridge structures, they would just sit there. They say how much fill, I think they just say fill. I don't think he specifies how much fill would have to be brought in.
You're saying going beyond it? Further west?
Across from the plaza.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that big, oh, yeah.
The plaza?
Oh, that's so much
Could be
further
done.
down the street though.
It's within sight of the bridge.
What are they putting there? They're just driving vehicles down, you said, right?
The proposed access road, in our opinion, the public benefits proposed, yeah, materials on hand, sheet piles, pipes, bike up and backup equipment will be stored in the DPW yard. So it would be to bring that. Additional trucking between DPW yard and the project will add to heavy traffic trips and increase, yeah, that's the other thing is too, because they're gonna have the road closed off one lane. So if they're going outside of this, they're gonna sit in that traffic to bring equipment in.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's safety issues there, aren't there?
Probably, I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah. So yeah, that's the issue with that. So because with this, they're able, oh, what did I touch? I hate this thing. Okay, it's just like, it's late, I don't want to do anymore. It brings everything right into the state where this project's already closed off here and here in one lane. If they're having to bring anything outside of this way or this way, like you're saying, for the non-amusement, they have to sit in that traffic that's backed up to bring equipment in.
Yeah.
They'll have a police detail, correct?
Yeah, but that's a major.
They haven't, I think they were talking, if they have a police detail, to start, they're not sure if they're gonna need one the whole time because it'll be one of those ad hoc traffic lights.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of traffic on that road.
Yeah, they are going to be doing a lot of outreach and signage, before their closure starts to tell people to try to find alternate routes to try to minimize that backup. What?
Alternate routes to donuts.
Go through Devon's, come back around.
That's
You
really
want donuts.
you really want donuts at that point. But so this is an option to keep that from happening. To have it would make speed up construction too. I think if you're adding it where they're driving out and coming in, you're probably going to add a half a day's work depending on the traffic each day or every 2 days, just in trafficking to try to bring stuff in.
Over 2 years, that's gonna add up.
I did walk out the site, that beyond just where that culvert is, that it's pretty clear. It's not like overly grown, it's basically more or less just in that 11-foot span that culvert is collapsed on either side that has the vegetation and tree that's gonna have to be removed and leveled out. Everything else is pretty much there, it's clear, do you know what I mean, it's not really overgrown, it's been, I don't know how it's been maintained, but whether obviously they must have used it to access it to get to the, I don't even know if they've used that to access anything, I don't know why it stayed so clear, but it is.
And what's involved with putting in a temporary bridge?
It's a regular structure, so they have,
Something that's built or something that's just plopped down?
it's something that's already, it's already built, they just put it down. So they just have to do the vegetation clearing and bring in some fill to level off the side to get it out there. And they will have erosion controls out on site.
This is where the billboard is, right? Right, that's.
Yeah, the
what we
billboard
looked
is,
at then,
yeah,
Right, okay. Do we own all that property?
Yeah, it's an easement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an easement there, that's why they're using it.
An easement for the road.
Mm-hmm.
RDA to start at least?
That's what my suggestion was be to, because it is temporary disturbance in existing cart path. So whether it gets conditioned to the point where whatever they're putting in there has to be remediated back, if they're taking something out, are we gonna ask them to replant a tree? Is it something that the DPW at this point then would be like, oh, since we did that, we're gonna wanna go through and redo this? I don't know.
Do they own the temporary bridge, or they?
The construction company will have that and bring it on site, they have those. So it's like 12-foot span,
And there's a cost to that?
I'm sure it's added into the contract. So the other things it said, it says they're gonna,
The contractor bid the project with the assumption that material was going to be stored at DPW and they would have to.
I don't know if if this aspect of it was into the existing contract. Dan, this is.
That's what I thought you just said. You said that would have been, the temporary bridge would have been.
The temporary bridge is already, it's not like they're building it on site, they have one. I don't know if it was build, if you said bill instead of build, I misunderstood you, and I apologize. I don't know, this is DPW's suggestion, and this is how they would like to bring stuff in.
I guess what I'm saying is, if the built bridge that
Yes.
will be placed in the location
Mm-hmm.
was part of the bid, the anticipation was always that the material was going to be at DPW.
I don't know that part of it.
Okay, so let's assume it's a change order.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a change order to say, well, what would it cost us to put a bridge over this piece?
Mm-hmm.
So there must be a price component to that. And again, is there any difference in that as opposed to going down the street and dumping it off at that big wide open space?
Mm-hmm.
That's all paved and gravelly and yucky already.
That you'd have to pay someone to rent.
No different than paying for a
Yeah,
temporary bridge for 2
I'm just
years.
trying to figuring
You
this
ask
out.
them that when they come in with their RDA.
Yeah, I think we should
Yeah.
have them do that and then see what they say. See what the plan is.
Alrighty.
Okay, so yeah, I'll mention them to file for an RDA for this, and we'll have them come in and we'll hash it out and see how it looks.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. I walked by today, yeah, I was surprised how clear it was, because I asked him, I go, where is it? He's like, oh, just walk behind the water department, you'll see it, and I'm like walking out, and I look, and go, oh yeah, there it is, it's as clear as day, that's where it is, and then you get to the end, like, oh, can't keep going, because it's gone. It goes up, like the elevation's not the greatest, so my question would be, would they have to do any grading for it, because it's kind of bumpy, but if they're just gonna anticipate that, then.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's only a couple 100 feet as opposed to, quarter mile to truck stuff, so.
Would we require matting throughout that area?
Yeah, we can put it, so my thought on it was we'd have to do some sort of permit, that's why I told the gentleman he called, just to condition it.
Yeah.
Because with that being a culvert, if we get another really wet summer and the beavers get active and the water level rises, like, condition when it can't be used or something like that. Just because I'm afraid if it got really muddy, because it is a dirt road, like, there's certain, I think, aspects to it that would have to be conditioned in order to allow it.
Yeah, I think like when we were out there, I believe you were saying when we got heavy rains, right, the Neshoba backs up.
Yeah, it does,
Right?
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all part of the floodplain for the Neshoba, so if National River, flows, it backs up into here.
Right.
Which would then go that way too, so it'd be one of those, so that was my thought, it would have to be some sort of permit so it could be conditioned.
Yeah, and if they,
And they fully anticipate and are willing to do whatever permit the commission requests.
and if it was rainy, they probably have construction mats accessible like they used at the oil spill to get through all that. So
Yeah,
they could-
yeah, no,
So there's
yeah,
stuff.
that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? I mean, when grid comes in and
Hairball
wants to
time.
put in new structures, essentially almost the whole right of way is matted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, National Grid, yeah, so that's, I mean, it's something we can look at and ask but yeah, I figured it'd have to be conditioned at some point, but I just wanted to let you know that, so I will notify them tomorrow about filing an RDA, maybe we can have that on the 24th. Okay,
Sounds good.
all right, very good.
When we're finished with our updates.
Sorry. I
It's
just,
okay.
is it okay? I don't think you guys saw my hand, but I just had questions about the,
At the beginning, I did not see you.
of the OSR three, the plan update, so I just have questions about that. Just,
Well, we'll finish up with.
yes, no, I
our
apologize, I
updates.
just
No,
wanted
it's
to
okay.
state that, cause I know you guys are moving along, so.
What's up? Okay, absolutely. We'll take a little recess. Any more updates?
Okay, so just real quick, we're getting busy in regards to beginning of construction. So we had, like I said, we had the West Main Street one about 2 weeks ago. We had Bly Street last week. They should be installing the erosion controls for that, beginning of next week. So that project will be starting over on Bly Street for the drainage work in, I think it's water lines. Stratton Hill, pre-construction meeting we're doing it on Monday. They're starting the erosion controls on that one. A lot sooner than we all anticipated. We all thought it was going to be. Cambridge Street for the drainage work up there. That pre-construction meeting should be in about a week or about next month sometime. Monday I did go to the tree hearing for the public street trees for those. I did go out and look at the ones on Snake Hill Road in the rain, cold rain on Monday. I like walking in the cold rain. I did mention to Dan about trying to leave a stag on those and not cutting them flush. I guess the issue is a lot of them fall down. It's all part of the tree management plan that the DPW had done back when Mark was still the superintendent. So phase 1 was identifying all the trees, phase 2 is then removing the trees, and then stage 3 would be go through and then start replanting. So they're in the second phase of this and going forward, and hopefully in the next year or so they'll be starting to replant trees.
Some of the dead trees are fairly healthy, and that, which sounds ridiculous, right? But
Yeah.
they're not falling down.
They're
They're
not.
solid.
They are pretty solid, yeah. And right when you have all these windstorms, if they were that dead, like you think they would have fallen in the lake by now, and they hadn't. So
Some are really like this.
yeah. So they won't put that note into the tree company. They come and do it to try to leave that, just because their bark's gone. They are just they're just ridden with bugs that birds are loving. So hopefully they'll do that on those. I did also mention because there is 3 of them, I think at least 3, over on the 71 Sandy Pond site that had signs as well.
That was going to be my question.
And I asked the question, I'm like, do we want to add those in there? Because 2 of them are just like tall stumps. They're not even a whole tree. And wait for that until we figure out what's going on with that lot in case we repurpose them for a macho playground or whatever. And I was outruled on that one.
Really?
Yeah, and they said it would be better off to just remove it now and start fresh. So I mean, I didn't mention that, and because there's that cluster in the front of the corner,
Yeah.
and it's not all of the trees in there. It's just one that's in there that's dead. Because remember when the original project for Muthier was proposed for that, we didn't want all those taken down. The plan was to take them all down, and it's not now. They're only taking out one in there that's dead or compromised.
There's 2.
It might be 2, yeah.
Yeah, but like there's no bark on them. They're like white.
They're
So
good for a car fair.
yeah,
One of them.
yeah. So there is that, but so I mean I did see that because I it was the only ones that I saw as I was leaving. Like, oh, there's some over there. I'm like, oh, why don't we just wait and see? But because the tree company's already going to be in here, they just figured it'd be easier on that. So
Get it.
it's fine. We did that. That's about it. It's getting late.
Commissioners have anything?
Mine would segue. So I went to the
Yeah.
planning board meeting Tuesday night about the OSRD, and they have eliminated 2 of the proposed units, going from 55 down to 53. The engineer there said, I think that was partly in response to our, not using the more than, not putting a surface stormwater basin within the minimum
Right.
50%. However, I did go up and ask, so, because they've created some more open space around the side.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
By the rock ledge area side?
On going up towards the racetrack lot.
Yeah, on
and
the,
then
Yeah, that's the
around.
Central
So
Ave side.
It actually
Okay.
is publicly usable
Okay.
from that neighborhood to get into the site. But I did ask, so how much more than 50% do you now have? And he said, it's more. Didn't have a number. And I said, well, what's the percentage of how big is the basin? And also they're doing two lines, water sewer, that come together that will go from the development and the basin down to Groton Harvard Road, where they want to put in another stormwater treatment area.
Infiltration,
Mhm.
It may or may not be underground, I think.
underground.
Rachel's husband did call in and sort of question the engineer, continuing to say this whole area will remain undisturbed, and he's like, 30% of it won't remain undisturbed, because when they put in that easement also.
Yeah.
So, but this wasn't apparently the meeting to fully discuss that in detail, but I
I know they're doing the peer review of the stormwater.
Yeah, they are doing what we suggested originally. They're doing a peer review independently for the stormwater drainage. I just want to sit on them to make sure they adhere to the 50% truly open space. And when do they actually decide on the whole boundaries of what will be the CR land?
I don't know, because I didn't know that they had removed 2 lots, so I don't think we have a new plan showing that yet.
Yeah.
So I think we have to wait on that, and like I said to you guys before, the commission's not required to take and hold any property as far as OSRDs. So at any point, because if you do read the OSRD rules and regulations, easements are allowed in the open space. I know this one's a little more difficult because there's a lot that'll be in there for utility lines and stuff and easements for this one, as opposed to other ones that we have. At no point is the commission required, if you're uncomfortable with how the open space is laid out, but the planning board approves it, we do not have to be the holders of the open space.
I know. I know the town and the state that the world needs more housing. For OSRD designs, I really want to push for the OS part remaining truly.
Yeah, and
OS.
again,
And
those regulations were written and passed prior to the regulations were written and passed prior to, I was in my in-between phases of the 2 positions, so I didn't have any input on those, so.
I did at the time. I was working on the committee with Jonathan.
So it's one of those things that's in there, again, it's one of those things with this one because the commission doesn't have any jurisdiction on it. So it's one of the things where when we make these suggestions, I made the suggestion to them in regards to the comments, everything about the open space as far as the stormwater, just to make sure they still have the 50%. Having that on the Central Ave side, they had those units and it was creating this thin strip of open space, which I didn't like. So maybe that's why they knew that to try to shift it and move things. So I don't know. Last I heard, they were trying to make a new set of plans of where we are on that aspect of things. But if at any point the commission is not comfortable with how the open space is laid out or how it looks or the easements that are cutting through it, another entity will have to take it. It will still be open space.
Yeah.
It just won't be under the control of the Conservation Commission
This
oversight.
is what he was showing. I don't know if you could see that. It's not. It's
I'm
-2.
sure it's something I could get from Danny when he comes
Yeah.
back. He's out tomorrow.
But yeah. I mean, I think either.
Or will be uploaded, I'm sure, to the town's website because he'll do his best to keep that up to date like he did with Stratton Hill.
Yes, my intention is to keep going because I just, as a commission member and also as a resident who voted on an open space residential development bylaw, I really want to hold their feet to the fire on open space, being true to the spirit of it. That's my view. somebody did ask also why the town wasn't trying to buy this property, and CPC did do, this is now out of executive session, they've been released, but CPC did do appraisals of some of the properties there. And, first thing you have to have is somebody willing to sell. The Fields weren't willing to sell theirs. The Hudlin property, other property, they weren't willing to come down anywhere near the appraisal price. So there were attempts made by the town. I think Danny said the town wasn't interested, and I corrected that.
Yeah, the town itself was very, certain entities might not, on my end of conservation, because of the price.
Right.
I couldn't have gone for appraisal on it if they weren't gonna meet it. To try to go for a land grant on it, it doesn't have, unfortunately, as strange as it sounds, it doesn't have high conservation value,
Oh, I know.
because there's
Yeah.
no wetlands or endangered or anything like that on site. It is valuable open space, but on a conservation side, it's not a high value property.
So, I would say my comments probably segue to anything that Rachel Kazera would like to say.
Sure. Do you want me to come?
Yeah, could you
Yeah.
join us, please?
Okay.
And just state your name for the records, please.
Totally. Rachel Kozera, 30 Groton Harvard Road. I just have questions about. I'm sorry, you got me all flustered by your talk about the project, but I think there are things that are worth saving. I know that people say that whoever decides what's worth conserving and what isn't, I suppose. It's just like today I was out there and there's a whole family of buzzards that I think, turkey vultures, that circle downtown. And so with this project, their home is going to be destroyed. So that kind of fixture in the town that is constant will be gone. But anyway, back to my questions. I just had, with regard to the update of the OSRD, are there, let's see, will there be anything that's updated with the refiling? Are you reconfiguring it? For the, you have to, the renewal for the OSRD?
You mean, this is the open space recreation plan. This is not an OSRD. It's an open space recreation plan.
Okay, so I'm confused about that.
So the open space recreation plan, it's similar to the master plan. The town has a master plan for planning and zoning type of stuff. There's also one on the open space and recreation side that covers all conservation and parks and rec items. So that plan is similar to your master plan, but it covers all the undeveloped open space and recreation properties in town.
Townwide.
Townwide.
So does it have anything to do with like the dealings that'll happen with this proposed
Nope,
project?
it has nothing to do with that. It's all town.
Okay.
It's mostly just town-owned property and vacant property.
All right, well then that changes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I tried to figure out different
it's
things.
hard because you hear open space and you're like, and you automatically, because you're used to hearing the open space.
Right, so that's why I was
your
like,
mind
oh,
goes that, it's like, oh,
yeah.
no, this is the open space and recreation plan.
Okay.
They're both the same acronyms, OSRD, RP,
Yeah.
OSRD.
It was
open
missing the
space.
D, but then
Yep.
I didn't know if that was.
One's OSRD, one's OSRP.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I first saw it, and I think someone called me on it, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh wait, because I did the same thing, and I had to stop and go. When I first read it, I was like, oh, open space recreation, open space development. Like, oh, I'm like, oh wait, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's on that. It's for that. So it's your Parks Department, the conservation land, where we'd like to see
Planning
stuff go.
as well.
Planning as far as adding additional space to that, doing invasive controls and stuff in town and stuff like that.
Okay. I apologize
No,
that
it's
I
fine.
was misinformed.
And that,
No,
when
we're
that,
confused too.
yeah. And when that was
Sorry.
done, the plan was done, it surveys residents too, all those who either fill out the online survey or come to a public hearing and ask, priorities of preservation of open space or habitat, housing.
Yeah.
So, and there's usually fairly limited public input.
And I don't mean to say that the habitat up there is not important. That's the one thing that I disagreed when they did their submittal of their plans. Is they said, oh, there's no habitat. I go, well, yes, there is.
Yeah. It's sad.
But there was no like endangered species when they said habitat. Like, well, yeah, no, but like there is habitat out there. Every woods has habitat. Every lawn has habitat. So it's that aspect of it. But unfortunately, the state, when you're applying for grants, it's very competitive. So
That makes
there's like, was
sense.
it 6 or 8 aspects of conservation? If you're only meeting one of those, you're like thrown at the bottom of the barrel. While
I
other
understand.
towns are looking for projects that meet all of them. So that's where that aspect at that point comes.
Yeah, I just I wonder with regard to the runoff water. I know my husband mentioned that most of that water is going to go to Flanagan Pond. I want to say, like through the drainage system. So I just wonder, just as something in the future, would that adversely affect the population of wildlife there, with just like pollution and.
Well, that's when you go. So stormwater does not get treated. It's just that's just doesn't. That's just a state thing. So it's clean water. It's when you have, which the state has you cannot use phosphorus type fertilizers on your lawn, which is where you typically see conservation commissions and people saying to not fertilize your lawn because of that aspect of it. If you over fertilize or certain fertilizers that you use or whatever, when it rains, it runs off. Rainwater is clean. It's what you swim in a pond anyway. It's the additional things that people put on their lawns or in their cars that wash their cars and what commercial, whatever soaps that they're using, that's where the issues lie in. So anything coming off of that hill now, because it's not developed and whatever goes on there now, same thing, it won't be because it's still rainwater. Whether there's houses there or not, it depends on what goes on. And the maintenance of things, all that be written in the decision, so that's not an issue. It's all rainwater no matter what. It's what it gets collected as it goes down. Whether it's developed or not, all that's there because you already have existing houses.
Got you. And I just wonder with the tree decimation, how that'll affect the water, like the water, how much is in Flanagan Pond, or the people that are by that pond going to be like adversely affected?
It's so far off to understand because everything that's on there, on that site, the stormwater system has to collect. So to try to change that, all that's calculated on the cleared areas for the stormwater system.
Got you. And
Although I would say they will be doing some tree clearing below that basin when they do the easement, water sewer easement down to Groton Harvard Road. I wonder what the impact of that'll be.
I mean, that's a good question. That would probably be, because I think they're going to be sending it to Green International to review.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll factor in that calculation.
So glad they're sending it out.
Yeah. So I'm sure they'll factor in that calculation. It is to be grassed anyway. It's not going to be pavement, so it's going to infiltrate anyway. It won't be an impervious area. It'll still be a pervious surface. It's clear. So that it might. I'm not stormwater. I don't do those calculations, but I'm sure if you actually did it out, it's like a tiny amount.
got you. Okay. I didn't mean to talk about that because I wasn't.
No, it's
but
okay.
you were talking about it, so I felt like it was okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Okay.
Before you go, would you like, my wife made cookies and
Oh, I'm all set, but thank you.
she'd be really
No.
upset if you didn't.
We still have those associate.
Yeah, we still have associate
Members,
members.
The slot is wide open.
Just saying, several of us are.
more and more tempting as things change in this town.
Several of us are in our 70s.
No, I need to do an outreach for associate members.
How does that work with like being an associate? You just come with.
So what happens is we have to have a quorum in order to hold a meeting. So because it's a 5-member board, we need 3 members to hold a meeting and to do votes. So for any reason, John's not here, Jen's out of the country, what?
No, because planning board, they're associate
You
member.
travel a lot.
They're, what do they call them on planning boards?
Associate member.
Associate member. They have voting privileges.
They do, but because we do not have to have a special permit, which requires a supermajority vote,
Right.
we don't have that same option.
Right, but our associate member can't vote.
Associate member cannot vote unless, so if you came to all the meetings.
Yeah.
And for some reason, so you heard the whole, like I said, there's 3 public hearings, you hold all 3, and 3 of these other guys could not be here, you would have the right to vote then.
No.
No.
No?
Still
No,
doing-
because there was a town out in Western Mass a few years ago they got something passed through the state legislature that allowed a conservation commission associate member for that town to have voting privileges.
They don't have voting privileges?
No, it's different from the planning board.
Huh.
But it's
Oh,
good
pardon me then.
training for when some of us who are in our 70s start to step aside.
Yeah.
all that stuff.
I haven't
Or
dealt with
move.
associate members, so I apologize.
That's right.
You're gonna move? Oh, man.
Yeah.
But if three people don't show up, you could she sit in and you still be able to hold the meeting?
No.
If we didn't have,
No?
I don't, if they're not a voting member, then you wouldn't have any.
Any rights at all?
But
No, just to discuss.
The body.
Discuss.
It's free cookies.
Yeah, that's all you're getting.
But also, we could also copy that one town and go through our state
We could.
senator and try to get it.
We could,
We do have a model
or
of
if
that.
we had an exuberant amount of associate members and people really wanted to do it and be active members, we could raise it from a 5 to 7 member board.
Can
Ooh,
It would be
let's
the same,
not
it'd be the
do
same
that.
aspect.
So we have to
It'd
find
be a
out
town
what-
meeting, it would be that whole
Yeah.
aspect of things, but I mean, it could. I was a little time, it was a 7 member board.
Process of becoming an
Mm.
associate member for us would be just submit your name and stuff,
Yeah.
and then the select board would
Select
have
board
to
would do the appointment,
do
yep.
an appointment. And as an associate member, wouldn't we still pay for?
Oh yeah, we'd pay for the MACC.
Mass Association of
So
Conservation
trainings and stuff,
Commissions?
if you had any interest in doing any sort of trainings through conservation, we'd pay for the membership, and we'd reimburse you for whatever classes you took.
Twice a year, they have a meeting, one in Holy Cross and the other here at Devon's.
In the
And a
fall for
lot of
Devon's.
different workshops presented, including like habitat, things you can do to try to preserve habitat, which I'm sort of intuiting is
Oh, that was tonight.
an interest of yours. So a lot of really interesting
Fundamentals on the
things.
habitat.
I've seen them.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was tonight, I wanted to go to it, it's like, I can't have a meeting.
There any other member updates?
Oh, then the other question. I just think, every time I drive by, Oak Ridge Drive by, that one house where the tree is way down in the water,
Mhm.
I think we should have, I'm not sure, should we discuss whether trees like that go that far in should have to remain in the water?
So, if they fall in the water, they stay. They create habitat in the water and the eggs, fish will lay eggs and stuff under it and use it as a thing.
Is that per the state?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Mm. Yeah, I mentioned to DEP, like, oh no, they fall in the water, they stay. I'm like, oh, okay.
What if
If
you don't-
it
what if
naturally
you
fell in the
don't
water,
want
it stays.
So even if it's on your property and it falls in the water.
Yeah.
And you think it's like, you don't want it there, you can't take it out?
You'd have to come to conservation, you'd approval to take it out.
Huh.
So we
It's
could
disturbance, land underwater.
Huh.
Just
Because I
think,
know Jeff Tillotson told me one fell in his yard, a maple tree fell. I said, okay. He said, if you want to come by and look at it, I said, all right. But yeah, it fell, they're just gonna leave it. But it does create habitat in the water.
yeah.
And it'll rot away a little bit faster than if it was like standing, because it is getting waterlogged and stuff. But no, it's a good habitat for fish, for the laying their eggs and stuff and hiding.
How about nasty docks that are rotting away in the pond? I brought this up before. I know George was like, shut up about it, but.
Hey, anything on those sheds? Speaking of.
I don't.
All right, I'm done.
You're done. Anyone else? Next meeting is April
24th.
24th.
We should hopefully have Pine Street back. I send everything to town manager's office to send out to town council for their opinion on that. So we should have it back in time for the meeting. They still have not applied to the planning board yet at this time though either, so.
Okay.
And that's before town meeting too, so.
It is.
I will not be here for the next meeting. I'm sorry.
What country are you going to now?
I will still be in Ayer.
Oh,
but
okay.
Not coming to the meeting.
Okay. Okay. We'll miss you.
I'll miss you too.
We can do hybrid meetings if you want.
I don't think that's a good idea. Explain when we're off camera.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Can we do hybrid meetings?
We can. The state did allow the extension of that till June
27.
So it's up to the commission to decide if they would like to do hybrid meetings or continue to be only in
I'm
person.
thinking that-
If they are to be hybrid meetings, we'd have to designate someone to run them.
So I think in the
Run them.
early fall, late summer, early fall, I may be looking at a knee replacement.
In my opinion, I think it would be something that we could do on a meeting by meeting basis if we knew like, oh, in 2 weeks, one meeting in June, we need to have someone zoom in, we could do it that, but to have it blanket, that somebody has to run the Zoom every meeting.
Do I have to still read that preamble?
Sure do. And if there's
In-person
anybody
meetings?
on,
That's
if there's
right.
anybody on Zoom, if there's a commission member on Zoom, we have to do roll call vote.
Oh, that's right, that's okay. I don't mind that part, but. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Oh, boy, that was a good meeting.